KFIZ News Time. It is 8:10, and welcome to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I'm Matt Hinker, and joining me today is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Patty. Phone lines are open for your questions, so shoot us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. If you can't give us a call with that landscaping or gardening question, shoot over an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. Ron, Patty, good morning on this chilly, brisk morning, but
I don't think it's chilly yet.
not too bad.
Wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, as I say, tomorrow it's going to be,
Yeah, it still kind of feels like the last day of summer today.
a little bit, yeah. And Friday definitely felt like maybe the last true hurrah.
Yeah.
At least I know because my brother decided halfway about midday, him and the wife decided to get the boat out on the water.
Yeah.
One more go around before it gets put away.
Right.
So I told him I don't blame you. So get it out while you can.
Yeah, you couldn't beat a day like yesterday.
No.
It's perfect.
No, yeah. That's why he missed our hockey game for it, and I was like, I get it. It's hard to argue because it was hard to argue. You couldn't.
Yeah, it wasn't hockey weather yesterday.
No, it was not.
It was
hockey
definitely
weather.
more boating weather.
It was, and so
hockey.
he took advantage of that. So there is that.
But yeah, it's fall will be coming here tomorrow,
Yep.
and then it's going to stick around. We're going to get our first freezing temperatures here in the next couple mornings.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not tomorrow morning yet, but on Monday morning, Tuesday morning. So it's about, I guess,
There
to
we
that
go.
time.
Yeah, it is.
I guess we've had something like 160 some days in a row where it's the high for the day was 60 or higher, and that's going to end here tomorrow. Or
Wow.
Between tomorrow and Monday now. So might even be 170. So it's like, it goes back a long ways.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a heck of a streak.
We had a great summer.
We did, yeah. We really did, actually.
Yeah, and usually we get just a couple days in there where it throws a wrench in our plans, but
Mhm.
it started out so nice this spring too, and we got we started with a month of nicer weather there than what we typically get with those 60s already then, and 60s and 70s, and then it persisted here through September and October. So
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a really good growing season, except for tomatoes. Tomatoes did not like this year.
Yeah, mine did okay. I've harvested several here. I'll probably be making, I'm going to whip up I'm going to make tacos tonight, so I'll make some fresh pico with them tonight. But
Yeah. My garden, for some reason, I had issues with blight terribly this year. So.
well, it was just so wet, back in April already.
Right.
It started with April and May and June, so that your blight is kind of slang for fungus.
Yeah.
And that's what those were just conditions that, again, we didn't have any of the cooler weather. We just had a lot of warm, humid weather.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, when it finally dried out, the end of July and August, well, it's too late by then.
Right,
So,
Yeah.
So that's where, it's not just the tomatoes. There was anything that was a little more prone to fungus diseases, pretty much anything in the rose family,
My roses did okay, but my squash and cucumbers wasn't too bad, but squash was bad too.
It was more of the plants that leafed out early, and like roses kind of recovered because there was it got dry then, and roses do a lot of growing in July and August.
Yeah, they do.
And even into September a little bit.
Yeah.
So they kind of grew right through and right past that. But other plants in the rose family that don't do that, your apples and flowering crab apples and even in chokeberries and things like that, they're all in the rose family, even though they're a little far cry from, you wouldn't think of a apple or a crab apple, flowering crab apple, as being in the rose family, but it is, and so they're just affected by a lot of those same fungus diseases.
The roses, I use that 3-in-1 systemic stuff, and that seems to do wonders for roses.
Yeah, you almost have to do something with them, because otherwise you're definitely going to have a problem, especially a year like this year. And if it's hot and dry, then you end up irrigating, watering them, things. Yeah. So then you're right back to the same situation. Yep. So you pretty much have to. Now, some of these newer varieties of roses, the Knockout series and some of the ground cover drift roses, they're definitely better.
My favorite is William Baffin. It's just a monster. It just grows tremendous every year. And it's a climbing rose, but people don't realize climbing roses, you have to pin them to something because they don't know, they can't attach themselves. So
right, you have to kind of guide them, right?
Yeah, you do. And if you do it, they can go 12 feet tall in a year.
Right. Oh, that way in a year.
Yeah.
I didn't know that in that fast. Wow. That's good. And that's good to know, because one thing the wife and I have planned in the future, it won't be anytime this year, maybe next year. So I want to put a little archway or trellis leading up to the doorway, and then I want climbing roses.
That'll do it for you.
Yeah. So good to know. And speaking of roses, and to go back to, we got the cooler temperature setting in now. Mine still it's still got new buds on it, to flower out. But my question for you guys then is, if these temperatures get colder, will those essentially not open, and should I nip those off here?
Well, just
leave it.
Play it out, I guess.
Okay.
Because some of those roses are actually one of the, nicest plants for September and October, because they do keep flowering.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you usually get that burst of flowers more towards the middle or end of June. Every year is a little different.
Always.
This year maybe a little earlier because they leafed out a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And then they'll kind of recover, and then they'll just bloom sporadically throughout the rest of the...
Right, and that's what mine's been doing. It's just, here, especially wherever you kind of trim it, right? And then that's where it'll...
That's what you need to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you cut the old spent flowers off, you get encourage more new growth and get more flowers. Or if you just leave them go, I'm a little bit of a lazy gardener. I'll trim them sometimes and let them go sometimes. Depends on what I all got going on that month. But if you put a little, that's kind of what's nice about like the Knockout series of roses is if you put energy into them, you get energy back, you get more flowers back. But if you don't, you'll still get some.
You'll still get
plenty of flowers.
It's just
if you don't. So
trimming them is just to maximize it, essentially, right?
Yeah, you're just just a little touch up. It's not, you're just reaching in there with your hand shears and trimming out the spent flowers, because otherwise they'll put their energy into
making rose hips,
making the seeds and things like that. Where this way they'll put it into more new growth and more flowers.
Okay, so I didn't realize that. So the rose hips is the actual like seeding.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. What is that? What is that?
It's like a seed pod. It's
supposed to have lots of vitamin C.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
I've never tried them, but or did I? I think I did, and they're real bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but extra vitamin C, it's always good.
Then they say it never hurts to make sure you're getting your vitamin C. It's good for the immune system, especially with winter coming and everything. So I'll tell you what, we will step aside and take our first break. Don't go anywhere as you're listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company, which I assume is open today again, Ron?
Yes, Rademann's is open today until noon, Monday through Friday till 4:30. And if you want to stop on out and visit the gang, we're just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac. And the easiest way is to take 41 and exit at County B to the east.
Welcome back to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I'm Matt Hinker and joined by Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Patty. Phone lines are open for your gardening and landscaping questions, 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450, or you can shoot your question over via email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. And that's exactly where we're going to turn right now, guys, is we're going to turn right to the email. Alan, you emailed last week. We got really busy. We were talking about something that we got to kind of get carried away with, but I did not forget about you. I made sure the email got stored in the inbox. So Alan's question for you guys is, and he has images, which is always helpful. These two shrubs, tree or bushes, not sure which, out by great-grandparents' grave out at the Ranzi. Ranzi cemetery has some growth, but also looks like it's dying. My grandfather had these planted back in the late 60s when they passed.
Oh, boy.
So,
yeah.
I know. And he said, I attached a few pictures for reference. Is there a way to bring the dead parts back to life? Thanks for your time.
Nope. They're not coming back. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I would just, in this case, the picture, what it is it's a photo of some dwarf Alberta spruce, and that would make them almost somewhere around 60 years old.
Yeah.
Or probably even older, because they were probably, if they were 5 or 7 years old before they were even planted, so that makes them maybe even 70 years old. I would say they're just, kind of at their end of their useful lifespan.
The one doesn't look bad, though.
One is
been protected more.
You can see it's starting to go a little bit at the bottom, though, too, the one that's not nearly as bad.
There's some new growth on them, and there's some dead branches in there. Those dead branches, it would be best just to trim those out completely, and then it'll probably kind of recover and start healing, but it's going to be a little more of a almost have a bonsai look to it.
Yeah. It's going to be real choppy looking.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I hate to ever say just remove them and plant new ones. I'd probably would just trim it out and wait it out and
see what happens.
And then
they could remove the bad one, and then then the other one a little trimming, because the other one doesn't look all that bad.
No, the other one looks in good shape still.
If you trim out that dead on it, it could grow, and it's not going to fill in and be full and dense like the other one.
No,
but
yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd trim out the dead.
I would
see what happens going forward. Yeah. And then if it doesn't really start to even attempt to fill back in or anything, then maybe you do just cut your losses.
I would do the permanent ground trimming.
And that's you talk to two people and that's
right.
You're
Yeah,
going to get two different opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't know. Is it ever going to look like it used to? No.
Right.
So, that is the tough call there. Cut your losses and move on, or just trim it out and
try to salvage what you can. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So.
All right. I tell you what, we'll turn to the phone lines. You're on Landscape Smart with Ron and Patty. Go ahead with your name and question.
Hi, I'm Gladys. I have a question on sun parasol. I know there's another name for them, but I don't really know the other name, Mandela or something like that they are. I have 2 of them, and I'd like to keep them throughout the winter. And I have a plant light in the basement. What would you recommend? Do I cut them back now before I take them in?
So I have no idea what plant that is.
You don't know what a sun parasol is?
No, never heard of it.
Okay, well, I buy them right over here at the berry patch.
Okay, well, that's not... What's the plant name? That's probably the variety name?
Okay, Mandela or something like
Mandevilla.
that. Mandevilla.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
I actually attempt to bring mine in the house because they're so gorgeous. You don't want to see those die. They're so beautiful.
I know. That's what I mean. Yeah.
And I'm going to try and keep it in. They're tropical, so they don't like a cold basement like I had tried putting them in. So
okay, I do have.
Didn't
my
work.
basement isn't real cold.
That'd be perfect. But you do need to have at least 8 hours of light. It doesn't have to be a plant light. It can be like a incandescent light too.
So the only windows I have, I rent, so the only window I have is on the north side, and it doesn't get much.
No, you'd have to supplement with some
A
extra.
plant light, then would be
Any
okay.
kind
So
of
do I
light.
cut it back then now?
Well, did you bring it in already?
I'm going to, no, I just removed them from my back patio to the front right now. I'd like to put them in the garage and then spray them with something just for the bugs.
Yeah.
then take 'em in,
Insecticidal soap or neem oil, something like
Okay.
that would be good to spray 'em
I
with.
have 7, is that okay?
Well, that's only necessary if you actually see bugs.
Okay, and that's what I had too. This summer I did have some of the aphids.
Oh, okay. Well, aphids aren't a big deal, but
Okay,
yeah.
so
it's okay.
otherwise
We
just
still wanna
like
bring 'em
a
in the house.
dishwater spray,
Yeah.
Dawn dish soap and
No,
water.
don't use
No?
Dawn. No.
No? Oh,
It,
I thought
you don't
Dawn
know.
was for
You don't know the
everything.
mixture. Insecticidal soap is a specialized mixture that's safe for plants. You don't know how much of the oils and different things in Dawn are gonna,
Okay.
hurt your plant.
Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes you can do more harm than
Yes,
good.
you can.
Okay.
So it's probably
insecticide.
safest just to use a true insecticidal soap.
Yeah.
And then you
Insecticide
know
soap,
exactly
okay.
what you're getting.
Is it a spray? Do I get
Yeah,
it as a spray
yeah.
or do I dilute it?
You can get it either way. You can
Okay.
get one that you can dilute, or you can
Mm-hmm.
get one that's not concentrated, ready to go.
So then if I cut it back, like how far? Like 6-8 inches?
I wouldn't leave at least 6 to 8 inches on the stem.
Okay, we'll try that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were so pretty all
Yes.
summer, and I just hate to lose
Mine's
them
on my
totally.
porch. I can't do that yet. It's all full of flowers. I'm not trimming all them flowers off.
I had some on it yet, but when I moved it, I had to because I had kind of like a trellis behind it
Oh,
in the pot,
yeah.
and I had a trellis behind it. So
Yeah.
I had to cut that part down already. So
Might have to, bring in some things though now, Patty. We're going to
I
get
know.
down into the
I know.
yeah,
I don't want
I
to
know.
face it.
I've cleaned out my
20,
back patio
27,
just
28,
within the week. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you much.
Yeah, thank you for the call.
Enjoy it. Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
program.
Thank
Bye.
you.
So yeah, we don't like to give up our
No.
summer flowers.
I wait
here.
till the impending doom is like within hours.
At the very
Well,
last second.
You better get on it tomorrow,
Yeah, 'cause
Patty.
there's a bunch.
That's-
There's a bunch that's got.
cutting it about as close as what you can
Cutting
get.
it real close, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you could even just bring it in the garage for a couple days and
Yeah.
then put it back out because this isn't gonna, and it's gonna be the cooler temperatures are on the way, but
Yeah.
after we get through Monday, Tuesday, it looks like then we're gonna be back in a safe zone again for
Yeah.
a week or two. So
Well, but that's just
Temporary.
temporary.
yeah, well, you're the one that doesn't want to give up on summer here,
Right,
Patty. I'm trying to help
exactly.
you.
You're the
I'm
one holding
working
on.
with you.
All right, tell you what, the questions are flying in, so we'll turn right back to the emails here. Danielle emails us. First of all, thank you for continuing the show. I find it very informative. You are very welcome, Danielle. Thank you for the compliment. I have a question about tree trimming. So last week, I believe you mentioned the pine trees should be trimmed around the 4th of July. She then asked, is that accurate? But then also my questions about locust trees. We need to trim one, and we are wondering when is the best time for that. Thanks again.
Well, a honey locust tree those can be trimmed almost any time of year. They're about as tough as nails, and you aren't going to hurt them no matter when you trim them. I would say if it's in need of it now, I would go on ahead. We always say not to trim, the last part of August or early September. And we're kind of well past that now. So you could, any deciduous tree or shrub could be trimmed
What about oak? Not
now.
oak.
Well, we're coming into the time where you could do the
Yeah.
oaks too. And so with honey locust, though, sometimes they'll burn back a little bit on the tips. So if you're looking, there's kind of two answers to an easy question, a simple question here. If you say, can you trim it now or when is the best time, You can trim it now. If you'd say, well, when is the best time? I would probably wait until maybe early May or something like that. Honey locust leaf out later, and so the best time would probably be during the month of May. But any time between now and May would work. And I've even trimmed. I have a honey locust in my yard at home. It shades my deck at home and my outdoor patio grilling bar area. And I'll trim that even in July, early August, because sometimes they do just get away on you. They grow fast.
Yeah, they do.
So almost there's only maybe a 1 month window in there, the month of September, let's just say, where it wouldn't really be the best to trim them. But almost the other 11 months of the year would be fine.
Go right ahead. All right, excellent.
And they don't flower, they don't fruit, or they're not supposed to fruit. Get seed pods is their fruit, and typically they don't. But that's so that's why you're not, like on some deciduous plants, you're waiting till after they flower. But with honey locust, you don't have to worry about that either. So yeah, but honey locust are one of the easier ones because you can't really do too much wrong there.
Can you trim, like Patty asked, can you do a lot of deciduous trees right now then as well? Like could you do oaks, maples?
Well, and when they say trimming oaks, you have to be careful of oak wilt and things like that.
Okay.
That's on large oak trees.
Yeah.
If you've got a 10-foot, 15-foot, 20-foot oak tree in your yard, and you're sawing off, or a 1-inch or a 2-inch branch, you're not really worrying about oak wilt. So when they say trim oaks, they mean like trimming them like a professional tree trimming company that comes in with a bucket truck and starts cutting off branches that are 1 and 2 feet across, not just hand trimming or hand pruning with a saw. You don't really have to worry about trimming your oak tree at home and worrying about oak wilt, because oak wilt isn't going to affect a small tree. It only affects trees that are 100 years old, 200 years old. A 10-year-old, 20-year-old, 30-year-old oak tree isn't going to be bothered by oak wilt. So you could trim those during the summer months too.
Okay.
So, or late spring when you shouldn't be trimming wood. Your oak trees out in the middle of your woods. So just kind of a clarification on that. So.
All right, tell you what, we will step aside for our second break. Don't go anywhere, as you are listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
Rademann's is open today. I'm sure you can still get a delivery, but I'd call just to be sure. 920-922-7612.
Welcome back to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I am Matt Hinker and joined by Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Patty. Phone lines are open for your gardening and landscaping questions, 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. Can't call us? Shoot your question over via email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. And so during the break, you guys mentioned, before we get into that, because we like to try to catch our callers here. You are calling into Landscape Smart. You have a question for Ron and Patty?
Yes, I do. It's about my asparagus patch. Can I cut down now my asparagus? Some of it is still green. There are lots of weeds and grass in there. When I cut it down, can I still, or is it too late to spray, like clean up or whatever you say? Is it too late to do that?
Well, we just kind of talked about that. You can cut it down, but spraying the weeds might not get you as far as you think.
Well,
Okay.
I think I would almost, in a case like that, you may have like almost nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yeah.
and we're a little bit on the edge of spraying weeds, which we'll maybe talk about after your.
Okay.
But
yes.
in this case, what I would do is I would spray it with cleanup. The cleanup will kill out your quack grass and that, or you could use a weed killer on it, and a weed killer would knock down any, if there's broadleaf weeds in there, so you have to kind of identify what you have.
Yes.
But for the most part, you're not going to get a real good kill at this time of year because we're into the freezing temperatures and that. But the option the option isn't much better. Ideally, if you would have done this a couple weeks ago, it would have been perfect timing. Where
But
now
what is
it's you're just
excuse me. My asparagus is still green, or it was when I looked at it 10 days ago. Will it kill my asparagus if I do that?
No, what I would do is spray it, and then go ahead and trim it after you spray it.
Oh.
So trim it, or because if you spray it before that, you could get some on the stems. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you spray it first and then trim those stems out of there, wait till spray it. Let's just say you're going to spray it this afternoon.
Yeah.
Then tomorrow go out and cut all the asparagus out of there. And that way, if you get whatever you did get on the stems, it won't work its way into the asparagus root system because you're removing it then.
Because there is still that possibility, if it's green, that it could kill my asparagus.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why you're trimming it off.
Yes.
And it's late enough in the year now. It's
Yeah.
it's mid-October, so you can trim that out, even though it isn't. Typically, if you weren't doing this, I'd wait until it turns yellow. But it's going to turn yellow within a week or two anyway.
Yes,
so
it
you're
will.
just doing it, just a week early. So you'd be okay. I would try spraying it now. I'd spray it now and then just cut those stems off.
Good. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you for the
Thank
call.
you.
All right. I'll tell you what. We're gonna. Dang, just missed them. But if you have a question or give us a call, 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450.
Yeah, call us right back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd feel better trimming the asparagus first. I
Well,
would.
yeah, but here's the problem there, Patty, is then you've got the stems there, the fresh cuts.
Yeah, but I trim my asparagus kind of a little bit below ground level.
But if you spray it and then trim it below ground level, then you definitely don't have to worry about it.
I don't know. I still feel better.
Yeah, well, it isn't going to. Herbicides don't work that quick. So if you'd
want
spray
them to,
it,
but they don't.
if you'd
Be
spray
nice,
it right
yeah.
now, it wouldn't get into the root system overnight.
Yeah.
And because what you don't want to do is leave an opening there, or you're spraying that chemical literally right in. I mean, that's the best way to kill out a lot of weeds is cut them and then spray that,
Right.
spray those stems, because then you're hitting the cambium layer and it's working its way right into
That's
the root
true.
system.
You're right.
Going straight into the system. All right. I'll tell you what. We'll turn back to the phone lines. You're on Landscape Smart with Ron and Patty. Go ahead with your name and question.
Yeah, my name is Steve. I got a question about the roses you were talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned something before, like systemic, 3-in-1.
Yeah, there's a product that's a 3-in-1 rose systemic. It's a fertilizer, and it's a fungicide and
an
insecticide. So
Okay.
they make this product. Several different companies do, and
Yeah.
I use it every year, at
Okay.
least once.
Yeah.
It'll say right on it.
Okay.
I use it usually
pretty
in
much
April.
uses the word
Okay.
rose right in it, and it'll say 3-in-1, and then you start out towards the end of April
Yep.
with it, and then maybe once a month or every 3 weeks you
It's
want to do
supposed
it.
to last about 6 weeks. So if I do it in April, then I don't do it again until like July.
Well, and everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah,
Always.
that's true.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so depending on which one you it would tell you right on there it's going to last for
Okay.
3 weeks or 6 weeks.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, even though you spray it on there and it lasts for 6 weeks,
It's
there's
a
more new
granular that I
growth.
put in the
Oh,
ground.
it's okay.
Oh, okay.
It goes, and then I water it in.
Now that
Okay.
would last longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one.
And there
I
are
use.
some that are foliar sprays too.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
that's
as
what I
far
used.
as in the fall, should I trim it down?
No,
And
I
cover
don't-
the root?
no,
I don't.
you don't.
Okay.
If you've got a hardy rose, you don't for sure you don't want to trim it back unless
Right, okay.
it's really tall and got really scraggly branches. But those
Yeah,
I would trim
the
off.
canes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Right.
thing I do like to do with newly planted roses, and especially or even including like the knockout roses, if they've just been planted like this past year or 2 years ago, even 3 years, I still like to put mulch around them.
Okay.
Like shredded bark mulch or wood chip mulch.
That's
Do
okay.
a 2-foot circle around them. It just
Insulates them.
Yeah, but you
Right.
don't need to use like those. Don't use
Cones.
those cones. That's a
No,
death
I know.
sentence.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
okay.
use a good chip mulch, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy.
No.
Just something that
Okay.
insulates.
Traps a little heat and moisture in there.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
it kind of it prevents the freezing and thawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
basically.
so what happens in December, we get 3 or 4 days down into the teens,
Yep.
and then we get 3 or 4 days up into the
30.
40s.
Yep, or 40s, yeah. yeah.
And then it's thawing out and freezing and thawing out and freezing,
Right.
and that's what's hard on
Starts-
all
Yeah,
plants.
it's on the
but-
south side of the house, right against the house.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it's especially true on the south side
Mhm.
because you get that winter sun
Yep.
Yeah.
that's reflecting.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
But-
Thanks a lot.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you for the call.
Yep. Bye-bye.
So I trim my roses maybe twice in a year. It's right after they start budding out in spring, and then in July or some point, somewhere's around there after the first big flush is over. Then I trim them again.
Are you like shrub roses, Patty, or
This
or-
is my
or more-
climbing rose.
Or you're okay.
I have
Well,
to.
and climbing roses are actually you know are a whole different plant almost.
Mhm.
There you're, and I always think nowadays about 90% of the roses that you see are shrub roses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of hybrid teas, the grandifloras,
Yeah.
the floribundas,
They're-
or even the climbing roses.
Because they're
are,
not that hardy. That's why.
right, and that's where these shrub roses, which are and they're easier to take care of.
Yeah.
and-
Mine is very.
So when I give
Easy.
advice on roses, and again, roses, there's a big family there.
Yep.
But I think now of the shrub roses more so than any of the other roses
Mhm.
because those are by far the most popular roses now.
And a lot of those varieties that are the best to look for is the ones that are not grafted. And it'll say on the description, the last sentence will be grown on their own root. So that even if the plant dies to the ground, you're going to get that plant.
It still grows back from the
Yeah, it
roots.
comes back. Yeah.
Well, grafted roses don't. If they die to the ground, it'll come back from the root system and it's below the graft, and it's generally nothing beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah, well,
Sometimes it
definitely not. Yeah, because they're just using, regular roots. It's chosen for it because has a great root system. It's
Yeah.
not chosen because it has great flowers.
Right.
If they're using it as rootstock.
Yeah.
But I'd say, and you can never say it's always, but for the most part, your shrub roses, your knockout roses, and your drift roses, which are more of a ground cover rose, are pretty much all grown on their own root now. It's you can never say
Yeah.
all, but
right.
for the most part they are, and that way. And like my knockout roses in my yard, I don't trim them. I leave those. spent leaf, the spent flowers on there all winter long. And it's kind of, they're dried up, but they're still there. And then come spring, then I thin that out and clean it up and cut it back, depending on how far it freezes back.
Right.
Sometimes you're taking it back to 6 inches, 8 inches, and then the next time you're only taking it back to knee high, or in this case, it's about as large as it's ever been. It's up almost probably 3 feet tall right now. I have and that's where, knockout roses don't typically get that big here in Wisconsin.
Right. They do.
Because you're freezing, they do freeze back.
Yeah.
And then you cut the dead parts out in the spring.
That's why you should never do a lot of trimming until springtime, because
then you can see what you've got, what you're working with.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you trim in fall, generally that'll get some dieback to where you trimmed already, and then you got to trim again.
Yep.
The other thing about if you leave them there is you get they, by their nature, they trap some leaves in there. They trap, the snow cover gets in there, and you get that natural insulation factor. And then in the spring, you clean those leaves out of there. But in the winter, they've actually helped the plant out.
Right.
So, and it's hard to clean leaves out of a rose until you trim the branches out of them because you can't get in there.
No, it becomes a mess in there essentially.
Yeah, you're gonna cut your hands off.
Yep.
Bad if you try to clean them out before that.
Yeah, the rose's defenses will come to help as much as it can. All right, we will step away for our final break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
So Rademann's open today until noon, Monday through Friday till 4:30, and we're just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac. Easiest way is to take Highway 41 south out of Fond du Lac to County B and then to the east.
All right, welcome back to the final segment for Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I'm Matt Aker, joined by Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Patty. You can give us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450, or you can shoot us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com with any of your landscaping and gardening questions. We don't have a whole lot of time here, so Ron, I know you wanted to mention something on just lawns and lawn care here, because we're kind of coming up on some timely events, right?
Well, I get the questions during the week too.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so, some of these questions that come in during the week are very pertinent. And, we're at kind of the wrong time to plant new grass right now.
I would think it's too late, right?
Yeah. Bluegrass takes 3 weeks to germinate. If you're planting your lawn on October 15th, that puts you at about November 7th.
Right.
And that's a pretty dicey time to expect that you're going to get good lawn to work. You'd probably be better off waiting until the middle of November and then doing a dormant seed on it. I've never had real good luck with that either, so I would probably be more inclined just to say just
hold off till spring.
Wait until March when things straighten out, or April, and get do it then. And then as far as the other question is, don't try to jump the gun on your winterizer. Just because it's gonna freeze here over the next couple days, that doesn't mean you should be out there putting your winterizer fertilizer down yet. It's too early for step 4. You want to wait until into November. If you start putting winterizer down here yet right now, you're not going to get the benefit of a winterizer. You're going to get the benefit of a fast growing, a lot of mowing, a lot of work here yet over the next 3 weeks, because it's
going to rain.
Well, that's
right.
just
That's
it.
the
You
thing.
fertilize
Exactly.
and it rains. It's gonna start working.
Yep.
Because the ground temperatures are still very warm yet, And these 2 or 3 days when it gets down to 28 or 29 aren't going to change the ground temperatures that much.
No, not enough. Yeah.
So if you fertilize or put your winterizer down and then it rains, you'll be out there mowing
right.
4 or 5 or 6 days later.
It's still going to put it towards growth and not the roots.
So don't jump the gun on that. Wait until November to put your winterizer down. It's just too early right now yet. And
in the vegetable garden.
I was just going to say, I know you mentioned there's got to be some things to do in the veggie gardens here coming up.
I'm going to, within the next week or so, be pulling out my tomatoes and peppers and all that kind of stuff, because once it gets nipped by frost, you're not going to get any more.
Right, it's done. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you leave it in the garden, it's just a harbor for fungicides. So I'd clean just everything out of there. And then in a few weeks, I'll be planting my garlic. So that happens in fall. And then if you want to, at that time, you can just put down your compost or mulch, and that's its blanket for the winter. So
for the garlic,
for the garden, whole garden.
That's what I thought. Okay,
yeah.
So that was going to be my question. So after you've pulled everything out, this is my first vegetable garden. So once you pull everything out, then I can keep and reuse the dirt next year.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
That's what I thought.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do lay a layer of mulch over the dirt before.
You could even throw compost on there and then mulch it.
Okay.
And I don't work it in the fall, because when you work your garden, it opens up vegetables or weed seeds to be able to grow.
Yep.
So I just
a layer.
What do you use for mulch on your garden, Patty? Like lawn clippings or?
Mostly lawn clippings, and a little bit of my garden, my bunny's smart weed or smart pills. I'd call them smart pills.
Yeah, like the little pellets.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, I tell you what, we're going to return the phone lines. We only have a couple minutes, but they're all yours. Go ahead.
I was wondering what is best to use for a cover crop that you cut down in the spring, and then what do you do with it after you cut it down?
Is it barley, maybe?
Well, when you say cover crop for a garden,
right, about a 40 by 60 garden.
You could do barley. Barley would.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what
Sure,
would be.
you can do barley, and then just.
So where do you get that?
I would go to a feed store, like a feed
co-op.
and seed co-op.
Okay, yeah.
Is it? I don't know if it would work yet. If it's a little too late
Yeah.
now.
Well,
I think the Amish
can
just
still-
did theirs
yeah.
about a week ago.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
kind of right on the cusp of it. Let's just say that, but some of those, when we were talking earlier about bluegrass takes 3 weeks to germinate. If you're planting something like, winter wheat or oats or perennial or annual rye or something like that, that's germinating in 5 or 6 days. So,
What do you do with it in the spring when it's growing and you cut it?
Well.
Till it in, or
till it in right
Just
away.
till it, yep.
Till
it'll
it in.
freeze out,
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah.
Well, or not really. It won't really freeze out, so to speak, but it
It'll
isn't.
die back.
Yeah.
But just till it in, and you're good to go.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Bye.
So, yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, they're playing our song.
Rademann's open today until noon, Monday through Friday till 4:30. We're just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac. Easiest way is just exiting off of Highway 41 onto County B to the east.
All right. Excellent. Ron, Patty, thank you so much. As always, wonderful show. It's wonderful weather out there, so it's probably one of the last few days to get out there and probably really get some good stuff done, like cleaning up that garden. Like Patty said, don't go anywhere, as we have Badger football coming up right here on 1450 KFIZ.